Deep in the bowels below the barn in Conker's Bad Fur Day, you encounter one of the first bosses in the game, and though he's not that hard, I spent hours on this section as a kid, not because of him, but because of something that happens after him. We'll get to that though after we talk about the Haybot. Conker did not escape the fall uninjured. His leg is hurt and he can barely walk. Luckily, we got Frankie there, and as we all know, Frankie is the greatest hero of all time, perhaps. So he's able to help. You can just jump on his back, ride him around like a pogo stick again. But as we come to this revelation, Conker says, "I don't like the sound of that music," and kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit. And then the Haybot bursts out, and he is ready for violence. He comes packing heat, he's got missiles, he blasts one at you, luckily you dodge it, it hits the wall, and that's supposed to be a good indicator of what you're supposed to do. However, when I was a little kid, I was a dumbass, and it took me forever to figure out what to do here, because I would run around and try to hit the Haybot with the frying pan, which obviously doesn't work. So finally, I don't know, it was probably my older brother, my friend Buddy, who we borrowed this game from, that got the Haybot to shoot the pillar with the water in it, and then the water starts to flow out, and you just lure the Haybot in, and it shocks him. And all you gotta do is jump up behind him and like push a button on him that says "do not push," and then the guy short circuits and his arm explodes. And then the second time, the other arm explodes. And then on the third time, he explodes. And that explosion sends Conker and Frankie just flying. Seems that all is well, however, then the Haybot comes stomping up again. But don't worry, it's just the pedestal on which he stands, and it quickly falls over dead. All seems to be well until Conker realizes that Frankie is busted in half. Our hero Frankie seems to be doomed. However, not all is lost, because as we all know, Frankie is but a pitchfork. He doesn't have lungs, he doesn't have a neck, he doesn't have anything. So it makes sense that Frankie could be fixed. He's worried about being firewood and toothpicks. However, Conker has a better idea, and after a quick little cutaway, you return to find that Frankie is essentially good as new, with a big old giant wad of duct tape in the center of him, holding him together. I always thought that this part seemed pretty funny because, like, Conker's trying to be really positive, but you can tell that Frankie isn't really feeling it. He kind of has a look about him, like he knows that it's duct tape. He knows that that's not like the right way to be, but you know, he's eternally grateful. So he carries on kissing your butt for a little while, and everything seems to be okay. And you would think at this point that maybe you're done with the barn, but that's where you'd be wrong, because shit is about to get real. And we will get into that in just a second. But before we do, I wanted to take just a quick break to ask that if you're enjoying these nostalgic videos of old games from back in the day, go down and hit the subscribe button, because I'm planning on posting a lot more videos like this one, and I'd really like for you to be a part of that. Let's get back into it. So at this point, a bunch of what looks like poop water starts to flow out of the holes in the pipes that you put in there earlier to attack the Haybot. Of course, Frankie takes one look at that and tells Conker that he's got to skedaddle because, well, he doesn't have any lungs. He's got nothing to worry about. He can't drown. He's just leaving you to deal with this shit yourself. So much for being the hero, Frankie. I thought this part was so hard when I was a kid because I've never been good at doing swimming in video games. And then it's got the high intensity music, like that really suspenseful, I don't know if it's a synthesizer or what, but it gets me. It makes me anxious. So you have to swim to these platforms, and then there are these electrical wires hanging from the ceiling that if they touch the water, electrify it, and they will kill you instantly. You have to throw throwing knives at the wires and try to cut them down. And that was incredibly hard when I was a kid. I don't think I ever did it successfully. I definitely had to have my older brother do that for me. However, as an adult, I found that this section wasn't too horribly hard. I cleared it pretty easily. thank goodness, because I genuinely hated this part back in the day, so much so that when I started playing the game, I was dreading it. I made my way to the top and out to where you go back into the barn and you finally get this neat thing that Jack told you about. And wouldn't you know it, it's just a big fat wad of cash, calling you a greedy bastard and making you just a tiny bit richer, just like all the other little wads of cash laying around. And that pretty much wraps up the barn, or at least all the good parts of the barn anyways. We hung out with our buddy Frankie, we killed a giant rat by feeding him too much cheese, we fought a giant bale of hay and a robot that was inside of that bale of hay. And I don't know about you, but I got really nostalgic going through all that stuff because I played this game a lot as a kid because I loved it so much, even though it was so naughty, and my grandma definitely didn't want to see me playing this. But speaking of games your grandma probably didn't want you to be playing, click on this video here and let's remember another one of them together.